Welcome to the show. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor.
And here we are, just the two of us. We haven't done this in a while. It's funny, when we started this podcast and this show years ago now, more than 130 episodes ago, it was always just the two of us. And we would talk about whatever was on our minds. And usually now we have guests join us, but today we thought we'd take it old school, just the two of us again.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, how about you?
I don't know about the really part, but I'm good today. Right now, this moment, right here now, pretty good.
It's a good moment.
It's a good moment. It's a good day. Yeah.
We wanted to do something today that maybe a little bit more lighter or fluffier than we've been doing as of late. And typically when we do shows that are just the two of us, we have something we want to rant at.
The last two shows we did, we dressed up in costumes for Halloween.
This is true.
We've been pretty light and fun,
that's
I have
true.
to say.
That's true. But we thought we'd talk today about jobs.
Yeah.
In general, and not like the fact that like we're like in this crisis of looking for people to work or anything like that. No. Just like our jobs, our careers as we've gone through life, which I don't think you and I wavered too far on what we've done. I mean, I was never a tour guide, but
I think it's funny. I think when you get to know someone, you kind of forget that you don't know everything about them, right?
Yeah.
You know them for a little sliver of time, really, and they've had this whole life before that that you don't know anything about. And one of my favorite things, really, is when I get to meet people that don't know me, and I'm like, oh, good, I can tell any of my stories because they don't know any of them yet. But if I've known someone for a while, I'm like, did I already tell them that? I can't tell them that again because they're gonna think she keeps telling that story.
That's the worst.
But I think there's a lot of my work stories that I haven't necessarily shared.
Yeah.
And I think it's always fascinating to hear, what someone's first job was. Like, not your first career, but what was your actual first, you remember getting a paycheck or getting money in your hand for doing something job. What was yours?
Pizza place. I made pizzas.
You made pizzas?
I made pizzas, and I still suck at it. I didn't work there very long.
So I was saying, the very first time, it's a toss-up. I can remember the first time I got paid to babysit.
Yeah, see, I never babysat because I don't like kids.
This is the mother of two.
I like your kids. I wouldn't babysit them, though.
So I remember getting paid to babysit in what was really not technically a babysitting situation, so much as it was in the summer. We had, our cottage and my uncle's cottage, and in between, all on the same property, was my godmother's pop-up trailer. And I would get paid, I think it was $2 an hour. It might have been $2 a night. I really don't remember because I was like 10 or 12. It was not proper babysitting yet. But I would get paid to sit in the camper trailer with her two young kids while she went up and hung out with the other adults.
Love it.
Right? That was my first, I got paid to do something. I'm pretty sure I was 10 the first summer I did that. Because really, we could have all been in the same building. There are buildings that are bigger than the distance between where I was and where the adults were. And then I remember not that long after that, probably, I think the summer that I was heading into junior high, I got paid to work the canteen at Highland Village Day.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Oh, yeah. So Highland Village Museum, that's where my mom works. It's similar to King's Landing for those New Brunswickers. Most of our audience is in New Brunswick. So think of King's Landing, but where they would once a year have a massive, massive concert that would take over, not quite the size of a Magnetic Hill concert, but pretty epic, like hundreds to almost 1,000 people back in the heyday. Yeah. Big outdoor day-long concert, and local kids would get hired to work in the canteen. And you'd spend, like a couple hours serving burgers and fries and whatever. Not making them, just handing them out. Yeah. But that was my first, I got an actual, I believe I got paid by check. I think it was an actual paycheck.
Wow.
For, again, I might have made $40 that day, I think, if that.
But we factor in the fact that, this was a long time ago, too. We were like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And even still, if I get paid $40 or something right now, I'm like, I'll take that.
It's not like it was hard work. You just taking orders. And,
handed things out.
And it was fun. There was a real kind of cachet to it at that time as a kid to be like, you get to work in the canteen this year. Yes,
leveled up.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then eventually I went on to work there.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah. I worked at the museum. I guess just the one summer that I actually worked there. There have been other times that I volunteered with my mom and stuff. She started working there just when I started like elementary school.
Wow.
And she's still working there. Yeah.
Yeah, she likes that job.
She does.
Yeah.
So yeah, one summer in between, I don't know, second and third and fourth year university, I created a research position for myself.
Smart move.
Yeah, came up with a project I wanted to work on, went to the museum, they agreed to sign off and put the papers in and got provincial funding, kind of like the SEED program, like that type of funding was coming through. So yeah, I got paid to do research for the summer at the museum, which was really fun. There were some big learning curves on that one for me though, because I'd never really worked in that type of environment and worked in that way. That I remember I got asked by a radio host to do an interview about the research I was doing.
Oh.
And I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll talk about it. And I did this interview. And then my boss found out. He was like, what? You don't just go do interviews without talking to your boss.
You have to get approval. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that it didn't cross my mind. So word to the wise, if you're out there looking for your first job, if someone asks you to do an interview, check with other people where you work.
It might be us coming to interview. That makes me think back to when we did the summer series this summer. And remember that we were down at the Albert County Museum, and thankfully her boss was on site, and it was her that told us she was do it. But she was voluntold, Brooklyn, you're going to go do this interview. And she had 20 minutes to research the topic that she was going to talk about and nailed it.
Yes.
She totally nailed the expulsion. So I was pretty impressed by that, because that's a lot of numbers and facts that she had to sink in.
Yeah, I didn't need to know as many numbers and facts. That year I was doing research about the music in the local area, which is really cool, which is also very kind of like, I'm not a musician, and so me doing music research was could have been a better thought out project, but it was a good preliminary baseline for someone else to do some better work off of that I hope they've done since then.
And so that makes me wonder, with that interview, do you think that in any way that propelled you into wanting to be a journalist?
That started in elementary school.
Did it?
Oh, for sure. I have very clear moments all along the way where things stand out. In particular, my grade 6 teacher looking at an assignment and going, see, this is how you edit. Because by that point, I had asked for a typewriter. I had my first typewriter.
Nice.
I had a thesaurus, and the thesaurus had, because in grade 6, that was
I would love it.
I probably got this thesaurus in grade 5, I feel like. And in it must have been in that, because it's not like I was using the internet at the time, because the internet existed, but you didn't use it the way you do today.
No.
I found like copy editing protocols. So if you're doing copy editing for a newspaper or book or whatever, there's little symbols that copy editors use. And I taught them to myself, and I'm assuming I learned them in my thesaurus. I don't remember where I learned them, but I had learned them. I had taught myself some of these little like shorthand copywriting editing things. I was doing them in grade 6 to my work assignment.
Oh my God, I bet your teacher loved that.
He did, and I would use different colors, and So for me to end up where I did, doing producing and editing and writing, that was kind of a foregone conclusion for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Including the very first proper job interview I did, like the first, like really I was nervous going into it, felt I did have to prepare. I had a very long list of things I had to prepare. It was the first time I interviewed for a job at CBC Radio. Mm-hmm. It was a reporter's job. What you have to do, or at least then what you had to do to go into a job interview at CBC, was intense. And part of it was coming to the table with story ideas that you would pursue if you were hired. And they had to be very well thought out, and like basically you had to do the story.
Cool.
Yes and no. But anyway, in that very first time I did one of those interviews, the executive producer that was part of the panel that I was going before, I will never forget her saying, "Why are you even applying?"
Ouch.
But it was because you're a producer, not a reporter.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't fully understand what she meant by that. And yeah, there was that like,
yeah,
it crushed my dreams, thank you. And then over time, I'm like, oh no, she was a smart lady.
Yeah, she knew. Yeah.
She understood. I didn't understand enough of the difference of where my strengths were. She did. So yeah, like producing, editing, like all that side of things, yeah, that's that's been there a long time.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, as you grow up and you meet these people in your life, how a lot of people seem to know, and you don't think it at the time, but they seem to know what's best for you. And they put you on the path to the right direction, which you never saw coming at all. Like, I know I've told this story a million times. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a newspaper print. That's where I did my high school co-op. I worked at a newspaper, and that's what I wanted to do. And it was my guidance counselor that said, no, you're actually going to go and be a broadcaster because that works more for you. Like, you should go into radio or TV or something like that. And I went on a whim. Like, I took the year off between high school and college and was trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life, working at a convenience store and Subway at the same time, which was the best job of my life. But anyway, I would, if I could take bags of Subway pickles home, I would. Anyway,
that's why it was the best job, because of the pickles.
Love it. And remember when Subway, this is so long ago, that Subway used to cut in the V-cut.
Yes.
Right? That's how long ago I used to work there. That's how, and if I was to get behind one of those again, I'd be like, this is how you properly make a sub.
That was the best way.
It was the best way. It honestly was.
Something shouldn't change.
No, you're right. It shouldn't. Anyway, so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to take broadcast journalism. So for the first year, I took radio and TV. And at the end of first year, I said to myself, I really only like radio. And one of my professors...
As we record our TV show at the same time.
Yeah. Well, so one of my teachers, his name was Len Arminio, and he was like, listen, stick it out for the second year, because I promise you with what you have, you'll get a job in radio. And I was like, okay, because I just wanted to be an announcer, not a journalist at that point. I just wanted to get paid to talk. It worked. He was right. He was right. Can we go back for a second? Because I want to talk about that, not the Subway job. The
convenience store?
The convenience store job. This, I maybe have never ever told you before. So, convenience stores, a lot of fun. But in a really small town where I grew up, everybody that comes in the store. And this old couple would come in every single day and buy those Nevada tickets. Yeah, what do you call them here?
Nevada ticket?
Yeah,
What's a Nevada ticket?
That's what we call them in Ontario.
Is that a break open?
Yeah,
like where you breathe? Okay.
Yeah, we call them Nevada tickets. Look at that, I learned something new today. Anyway, they'd always come in and buy those in like a scratch ticket. And that was back in the day when you could pull out the thing and let them pick their own tickets, right?
You don't do that anymore?
They don't. They grab them for you now.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's how long it's been since you played the lottery, huh?
It's never been a thing for me. No.
So anyway, typically I would hand it out to him. And that day he said, you know what, Tosh, just grab one for me. Like, just grab any crossword that you can. And crossword was always my game of choice, too. That's the one I always...
Because it's like doing a crossword. That part I get.
Yeah. I handed him a $50,000 winner. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, way. Yeah, way.
How fun. So when you said that about, like, not being able to hand it out, I was like, there must be so many people that are like, no, but the whole, like, luck factor, I can't let someone else pick it. And then he let you pick and he won.
And he won. Yeah. It was bonkers.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it was great, too, because they were, like, they needed the money. They were, like, it was really, really neat to get to do that. Have I ever done it for myself? No. $20, I think, is, like, the most I've ever won on any lottery, let alone a scratch ticket. But anyway, my day's coming. Someday I've got to win the lottery anyway. I don't know.
What's the most, like, bizarre kind of job you've had? Like the job that when you explain it to people, they're just like, you did what? Do you have one of those?
I worked in a tattoo shop for a summer.
Yeah, wasn't getting that vibe.
Yeah, I did.
If you're listening, you can't see the look that just came over my face.
No, I worked and lived in the tattoo shop for a summer. So I do have a lot of tattoos, but they're strategically placed. So that.
Okay, what's a lot?
A lot? I don't know, like 12 or 13.
That many?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they must be very strategically placed because.
Yeah, you've never, like my foot and my leg is probably the only ones you've ever seen.
Like I knew you had tattoos, but you don't I don't think of you as one of those people I know with lots of tattoos.
No.
It doesn't, that puts you up there in a lot.
Yeah, it does definitely put it over double digits, yeah. So I worked there.
Coming from someone who'd have none.
Yeah, exactly. And I went back to my second year of radio school and television school with my face all pierced up and my hair was black. And the days have come where I realized that my mother was right all along. Here we are. You're welcome, Mom.
At least you didn't like get face tattoos and regret them.
Oh no, definitely not. But yeah. So what did I do there? Pretty much just like rang people through. But yeah, I think that's the one that throws people off the most. Is like, what? Who are you?
It doesn't completely surprise me that you went through that kind of phase. Yeah. But I hadn't realized that you lived and worked in a tattoo shop.
Yeah, my black hair also didn't last very long because my mom is a hairdresser, so as soon as she saw it, she very quickly stripped it out of my hair. But didn't do any permanent damage.
So speaking of living and working in the same place, I'd have to say when people ask, that's probably my standout, kind of odd job in the sense that people are like, you did what? So I lived and worked on the Marine Atlantic ferries back and forth to Newfoundland.
I didn't realize you lived on it.
You had to be on the boat. So it was supposed to be 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I did that once. And then I convinced the other girl that we could do 1 week, 1 week.
Okay.
Because there were only 2 of us that were hired to do this position on that particular ferry, because 2 weeks was too much.
Yeah. Be straight on that.
Do it.
And it's not even like you're on a cruise ship and you're going to destinations. You're going back and forth and back and forth.
You're going back and forth from North Sydney to Argentia. And every now and then we would do a Port of Basque run, but mostly it was Argentia. And the way the job was set up, I was working for Tourism Nova Scotia. And we had a little booth that we shared with Tourism Newfoundland. And so when the ferry was heading towards Newfoundland, the representative from Newfoundland was in the tourism booth.
Okay, makes sense.
And when the ferry was heading towards Nova Scotia, the representative from Nova Scotia was in the booth. Makes complete sense.
Totally, yeah.
Except when you think about the ferry schedules. And when you're doing the Argentia run, that's the long one that goes, takes you way around, almost over, you're just outside St. John's. So you it's really cool because you get to sail past St. Pierre-Miquelon all the time.
That's neat, yeah.
But it's, a good 14-hour trip on a good day.
And would you have to sit at your booth all day?
You're supposed to be there the whole trip. And what happens with a ferry is it goes, and then it goes back, and it goes, and it goes back. And pretty much every time the ferry was heading to Nova Scotia, when I was responsible to be at work, was the nighttime.
Oh, man.
So I routinely would sleep through the day, get up. I feel like the ferry used to get into Newfoundland at 1 or 2 in the afternoon at that time. So my shift would start at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Nothing about that sounds like fun.
No, it was not.
And would you get a lot of the rocking? I don't know how big the ferry is.
I didn't mind. It's very big.
Yeah.
And most of the summer the weather's pretty good. As we started to get into the fall, it started to get into rockier, but I was going back to university, so I was only there until Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
My last shift actually was the day that Princess Diana died.
Oh, wow.
That was my last shift on the ferry. So I could always look up and see when it was.
It was August 31st.
There you go.
I don't remember the year though, but I just know because Jason and
90s.
we got married on the day that she died, and the room that we stayed in at the Algonquin was the Princess Diana suite. So so that's I won't ever forget that. Yeah.
And I know it was the 90s. I don't remember which year of the 90s. Someone out there is yelling at us
right
now what day it is, and how do we not know this piece of trivia? But yeah, that was one of my strangest jobs. Because of the way the schedule went. Yeah, I worked basically night shift for the summer for a full week at a time on the ferry, and
gross.
Well, and it was there's weird little things, right? If you sleep, if you've ever worked shift work, you wake up, at 3 in the afternoon, you want breakfast.
Yeah.
So I would go to the cafeteria, and we had a staff cafeteria, not just the public one, but I'd go in and they'd all be having supper, and I'm just oh, I cannot eat. So I had toast with peanut butter and oranges pretty much for an entire week. And the only other thing that I would basically eat would be when we'd stop long enough, the layover was long enough that I could go to Subway and get a foot-long sub. And that's exactly when they did that vegan stuff. See, all the stories come together. It's like we planned this.
It's true. I actually, for a very short period of time, worked in a factory. For a very short period of time. It probably was in that year that I took off between college and high school. I can't really remember. But I did overnights at a box factory, and it wasn't here, obviously, at the one that's here in town. I can't think of what that one's called, but anyway, yeah, and it was awful. It's funny because we're complaining about overnights, but we both, for our jobs, would get up in the middle of the night to go to work. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I like going to bed at a regular time. Anyway, I remember one time having to go right from my shift to the dentist, and I kept passing out in the chair, and they'd be like shaking me because they didn't realize I'd just gotten off work, so they were like, I don't know if they thought I was dying in the dental chair or what. But it was
had too much fun the night before.
Too much fun. Yeah, who knows? I can't even imagine. But no, it was a horrible job. I have so much respect for anybody that can do shift work at all.
Yeah, shift work is. It depends, I guess, what your shift is too. Like, yeah, when I did mornings, I got into a routine that I liked.
Yeah.
Right. I liked that morning routine of getting up and being at my desk for 4:30 and being done my day at noon.
Oh yeah.
And then, you go to bed like 8 o'clock at night. It doesn't feel that crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nice things about being off in the afternoon. But, like to work shift work where you only work at night and you never see the daylight.
Never.
Or when, like, people that get to switch back and forth. I know there's lots of scientific studies out there about what it does to your whole system to kind of have that lifestyle. And that's huge respect to people that are able to do that, because it is not on my list of things I want to experience.
I know, my uncle has worked at the Honda plant in Alliston, Ontario. It's got to be over 20 years. And how he still continues to do it, I don't have the slightest idea. I don't know how, but I think once you get used to that lifestyle, then your body probably, in a way, kind of craves it.
Well, and when you work in a big factory or plant like that, at least you know other people who have that same kind of lifestyle, right? And you can find people that you can, hopefully socialize with, who are awake when you are.
Yeah. Those people. I don't know. Yes. I'm trying to think. Do we have any other jobs? I ran a bar for a period of time as well. My parents owned a pool hall bar, and that was fun. That was such a great job. I'm still not a great bartender, but you learn those at the Christmas shows that we do here.
Yes.
Yeah. Bring other people in to do that for us.
I don't think I have any other standouts that come to mind that I haven't necessarily talked about. There's been a few interesting ones along the way, but I think it's always interesting just to hear those little snippets of people's lives that you're not used to. So if you're listening, if you're watching, you want to tell us about, one of your first jobs, your craziest job, the job that you miss, like cutting sandwiches at Subway.
Seriously, when life was simple, guys. Oh.
We would love to hear your stories. So, hit us up in the comments, send us a message. You can find us at Pickle Planet Moncton. You can find Tosh online at the Podcast Hub and on...
Yeah, just tosh.wood.taylor. You can find me anywhere you like. We're always available. Thanks for watching and listening.
See you soon.